Okay, hey, we're going to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another review for you from the brand Zelos. Guys, they were founded in 2014, and they are, I guess I shouldn't even call them a startup micro brand anymore. They're just a full-on micro brand with a very unique, overbuilt design aesthetic that I really enjoy, and I think other people do too, because their watches seem to sell out very, very fast. This particular type of watch is, of course, a dive watch. Some key common characteristics in design language: when you're looking for a dive watch, you're going to want water resistance, typically through some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. Now, this is their Mako V3 Ti. Yes, the Mako V3 has been on this channel a couple of times, guys, but this is the new titanium version. Titanium, full titanium case and bracelet. Very, very cool. And this is the teal dial version, which I think on camera is probably rendering a little bit more on the blue side. But I will say in person that it absolutely does have some teal tones to it, which hopefully I'll be able to show you guys in later segments as we kind of get this thing at different angles and some different lighting situations. Now, a little bit about the particular model. Of course, the Mako Shark being the fastest shark in the world. It's smaller and more streamlined. This is Zelos's smallest diver. At least it was. There might be something below 40 millimeters at this point. But this was kind of their first take on that, because they were really known for kind of your typical larger size diver. And you know what? This still might be the smallest, because I think the other ones I'm thinking of are probably still 40 millimeters. They might be 39, but comment in the down below there, guys, and keep me in check if you know for a fact that there's anything that they have that is technically smaller than this. Now, this version 3, of course, you're getting the thinner and more refined package, and the titanium iteration does add again that full titanium case and bracelet, and it's also surface hardened to 1200 Vickers, which is outstanding. So you do get increased scratch resistance, because an honest thought for a lot of people is, oh, titanium, it scratches easily. It's not softer, guys. It's just the outer oxidized layer that sits on the surface of titanium. It's very hard, and when things are hard, it makes them technically a little bit more brittle. When things are softer, they can bend easier, right? So just think of it that way. I don't want people to think, oh, titanium's so soft. No, titanium is not soft, all right? The cool thing here is, though, you're getting a titanium watch, and that surface coating actually helps it not look super dark and titanium-ish. It actually looks very much like steel, which is very cool. It almost has a kind of a different luster to it as well. So I gotta say, that's very, very impressive. Oh yeah, and it costs under $500, 449 bucks. But definitely check for current pricing and availability, because depending on when you watch this video, things could have changed. Anyways, rambled on long enough. Let's zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, is this a looker or what? Look at that guilloche wave pattern dial. Fantastic. The Lume, guys, you can see this is one of those ones, we call it day Lume, where even in fully lit situations, there's just a bit of a glow coming off of it. I'd say the most telling Lume upgrade here is the crown, which actually wasn't noticeable before, but now actually ties in quite well to the very standout-ish kind of green hued, almost ivory bone lume that's applied there very, very thickly and very, very well, and sharp it, which is really great too. So in terms of the crystal, it's that same 2.5 millimeter thick sapphire, double domed, with those kind of vintage style boxed edges. So you are getting quite a great bit of legibility, even at very, very harsh and extreme angles. The bezel is the same, but it feels different, and it's just common to titanium divers, I have to say. Typically the steel variation is always going to feel better, just more solid. This just has a bit of a tinny feel to it, and that's because of the fact that it's a titanium bezel. So if you're somebody that just geeks out on bezel action, you might be better off, you know, sticking with the, let me give it a quick little wipe there, with the stainless steel variation. It obviously does the job. It's nicely dialed in, you know, all that jazz, but, ooh, let me, there we go. You know, it does the job, but definitely isn't on that kind of more impressive side that the steel version, you know, kind of gets us to. We do have that great ceramic insert there, guys. It has that nice brushing, which does add some beautiful texture, which just ties into this whole theme very, very nicely. Inside here, guys, you're getting an automatic Miota 9015, which is fantastic. Keeps it nice and thin. Here, of course, softened edges, so nothing sharp. So with every iteration, they do find little ways to improve, which is great. Now, when we get to the dial, you get that Whirlpool Guilloche Vibrant Teal Fume dial. You got applied indices. You got a date at the 6 o'clock, which is color matched. In terms of lume, you're getting C3X1 grade and BGW9 Swiss Superluminova. And then in terms of where that BGW9 is located, you're going to pretty much see it on the second hand and chapter ring, and it's going to be C3 mostly everywhere else. And you can see, again, with that kind of day lume vibe, you can expect some amazing fireworks from this thing as soon as the lights go out. You do also get 300 meters of water resistance, which I think is really nice. Typically something within the size range you would think of 200, and especially when you consider kind of the thickness as well. It's 14 millimeters thick, but it is only really 11.5 if you don't count that box dome. So it's, you know, I think it's well proportioned. Feels honestly not too big, not too small, a bit in that Goldilocks range. And visually it can feel a little bit shrunken down, just due to some of the choices in terms of the spacing and whatnot. And it's generally like not a huge watch at all, but it's a nice one. It really, really is. Now, in terms of the bracelet and end links, you can see there that end link, another thing, although it is, I think, more sharply finished than the steel model, I think the end link doesn't flow quite as well. You can see there in terms of where the case terminates and where the end link begins. It could be better fitment. It's nice and tight tolerance wise, but in terms of kind of the shape there that's crafted, you know, I think the stainless steel model did it just a little bit better. Again, this is not a defect by any means. It's just, you know, I'd say this doesn't shine as much when in comparison to the steel model. Now, we are getting 20 millimeter lug widths there. You got the full stainless steel bracelet. It tapers down from 20 to 18. We are again getting nicely milled work here. Beautiful new finish here on their clasp with a quick adjust system, very similar to Christopher Ward. So all you do is you pull this little thumb lever here, pull it out, and then you just get how many clicks? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clicks. So I'll probably pull it out and I'll do 1, 2, 3. Why not? And it works pretty nice, guys. So yeah, I'm digging it. This clasp is great. The connectors are screw-in connectors on the bracelet, so pretty much what everybody asks for until you strip a screw. In this case, Zelos has really stepped their game up, and I haven't had any screw issues with them. Gosh, since I honestly can't remember the last time, but I do know in their earlier days there were definitely times where softer hardware could be used. In this case, I feel like it went pretty well. So let's go ahead, get this piece on the wrist and see how it wears. All right, guys, as you can see on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, this thing wears really, really well. Very, very handsome. I think the updated dial spacing for the V3 does help it not wear overly small, which I think is great. Even if I open up my hand, get a little bit more arm in the screen, it still doesn't seem overly small. And then you get it, of course, up close. And look at that thing. Look at that day lume. What? Look at that. That's just the underneath the hood of the lens there to stop from reflections. You can see that thing is just glowing brightly. Wow. And this thing wears great. It's not super heavy. It's not super light or tinny. It's, again, in kind of that goldy spot range, and it just helps it be even more wearable. So yeah, I'm very impressed with the fact that they made the titanium work so well on here. You can see it still drapes really beautifully, and of course I think the male end links do help a smaller watch wear just a little bit better on the wrist in general. Visually, the visual weight ends up being spread a little bit out more and elongated across the flat of your wrist. And because it is a turn down lug, it's not like it's really hurting in terms of wearability. And then you can see the nice beveling there, really well executed, especially when you consider that this is titanium, and even more impressive when you consider that it's titanium with a surface hardening treatment done. So yeah, I'm really liking the way this thing wears, the way it looks. It is just fantastic, guys. Is it the best yet? Maybe. It just might be, but you know what? Let's go ahead, get this back off the wrist, set it up for some lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. All right, guys, let's go ahead and hit the lights. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is blazing. And you can see that there's even, it's probably the camera's not doing the greatest job of picking this up, but you do get that blued kind of chapter ring going around the outside of the indices. You also do get a, the crown is loomed. Let me see if I can just hit it with a little bit of black light. You can see there, the crown loomed, and then you can see, hopefully, well, it's black light's a little too bright. Let's see if we can get a look at the blue. Oh man, that thing's blasting. So you guys can see now the blue around that chapter ring. Really nice, guys. I love the fact that it's fully indexed all the way around the bezel. It just gives it such a complete and serious kind of almost near militaristic type vibe whenever you see that. It just means business, guys, and it works really well. So one thing I do like to do is work in some low light transition as we get these lume shots, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of the field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of the times you're going to be coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, spending time under the shade of a tree, or maybe just inside of your favorite automobile. So it's nice to see what this will look like in less than optimal lighting conditions. And when I say less than optimal, we even get down into some very harsh, high contrast lighting conditions that would typically expose any type of defects within that finish, but you can see the light glides very beautifully over the fine brushing on this Zelos, so they do not disappoint in terms of fit and finish as per the usual. And hopefully you're able to see some more of those different tones within the dial, not just the blue. There is definitely some green there, but with the lume, I would say it's probably balancing the colors, and it's probably going to render just a touch more blue than it actually is in person. I'm not saying it's an emerald green. It is definitely a teal color, and it looks really great. So hopefully you guys can see, but even when I get down and just kind of get this thing back to the dark, it just wants to shine and sing. Look at that lume. My goodness. There's so much to love about this little watch. I dig it, guys. I liked it in steel, and I like it in titanium. Do I love it? It's tough, because it's such a great watch. It just offers so much. But honestly, it's tough because I feel like Zelos has some more unique watches. I just haven't found the perfect combination yet from Zelos. They have some really interesting ones with some really fun stuff, and then they have something like this, which is a little bit more mainstream. But I haven't found that sweet spot. This is the closest thing to that sweet spot, but I really love it. I mean, this is really nice. So it's hard not to, right? Like I try to talk myself in and out of it, but honestly, I look at it now and it's just like, yeah, no, this thing is killer. Like, it's really, really a nice watch. Like, regardless of the fact that it's from Zelos, which a lot of people like, and honestly, with how well some of their more high-end watches are selling, who knows for how much longer the Zelos brand won't be a flex name. I mean, now it's kind of a flex, I guess, if you can get something before they sell out. But the brand itself is building its own history of prestige, which I think is really, really cool. And I love that we're all kind of participating in the beginnings of that. So closing thoughts, guys, on the wrist, very classic proportions. It does have a nice kind of more slim wear, with a very refined dial layout now that add really great legibility and dial breadth. You know, you are getting, 200 less water resistance in terms of the previous models that were like 500 meters, but it's a little bit thinner, and I think this makes more sense, honestly. So I dig that, and that's just talking about the V3 model in general over like the V2 or V1 Makos. Model variations, definitely check the links below for current availability and pricing. In terms of comparable models, guys, this still competes favorably with more mainstream brands and independent micro brands alike. So this thing like is competing with your Swatch Group watches of the world, as well as, your really cool, fun, hip micro brands of the world. So it offers so much, and it's not charging a lot for it, which is just, it blows me away. And that makes me like the watch even more when I look and I remember that the price is less than $450 at $449. That's awesome. Bottom line, guys, there's still a ton of watch for the money, and then especially when you're going to come in and get some of those early bird pricing specials, right? And sometimes you don't even get to pay full price because they sell out in the early bird pricing. So, guys, check the links down below and see if you can snag one of these, because they're really immaculate. I really love these, and there's different options. There's a bevy of different combinations. There's definitely a lot to like. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.